Hi, girls and boys. I'm sure the name fats scares us, but to tell you, they are the third main class of macronutrients needed in human nutrition. The lipids are found primarily in meats and dairy foods. At least these are the most visible sources, but most foods contain some fat. And some of the richer vegetable sources of dietary fat are nuts and seeds, soya beans, olives, peanuts, and avocados. And these contain the needed or essential fatty acids. Fat is a complex molecule made up of a mixture of fatty acids and glycerol. Just like carbohydrates, it contains carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, but it contains higher ratio of carbon and hydrogen than oxygen. We have lipids in different forms. It is simple lipids, compound lipids, derived lipids, or steroids. Simple lipids are also known as neutral fats. These are made up of triglycerides, that is 3 glycerol plus 3 fatty acid molecules. And these are the major source of fatty acids to the body. So that is simple lipids. Then coming to compound lipids, these are made up of simple lipids containing additional groups such as phosphorus or carbohydrate or protein. So for example, phospholipids, glycolipids and lipoproteins. Now derived lipids are these are the substances which are derived from hydrolysis of simple lipids and compound lipids. And then coming to steroids, these are the fat related substances containing sterols. Most important is cholesterol, most abundant in brain, nervous tissue and skin. Sterols of vegetable origin are called phytosterols. For example, stigmasterol found in soybean oil. So we find stigmasterol which is in soybean oil. Fatty acids are the building blocks for triglycerides and phospholipids, which contain a chain of carbon and hydrogen atom. We have saturated or unsaturated fatty acids depending on the presence or absence of double bonds between the carbon atoms in the structure. So it depends if they have a single bond or a double bond between the carbon atoms. In the structure they have some carbon atoms. So if they have double bond or single bond, that is how we can find out the kind of fatty acid it is. So food fats are generally mixture of both the types. We have saturated fatty acid and unsaturated fatty acids. Saturated fatty acids are solid at room temperature and they have a very high melting point. That's the reason they have impact on the health. Clogging of arteries takes place because because of higher melting point, saturated fat doesn't get melted easily and they start getting stuck in the arteries. And they contain no double bond, they have a single bond. Most animal fats are saturated. For example, butter, ghee, coconut oil, palm oil, they're all saturated fatty acids. Unsaturated fatty acids, they are liquid at room temperature. They have lower melting point, so they are not that harmful to the body because they melt easily. Most plant fats are unsaturated. These fatty acids usually contain one or more double bond. For example, vegetable oils such as safflower, sunflower, soya bean, cotton seeds, corn, etc. They can again be classified as unsaturated fatty acid, that is MUFA, and polyunsaturated fatty acid, that is PUFA. It's a common sight in television where we find various ads talking about MUFA and PUFA. So these are monosaturated fatty acids, that is for example oleic acid. These fatty acids contain one double bond. Olive oil, olives, peanut butter, groundnut oil. Then PUFA, polyunsaturated fatty acid. The example is linoleic acid, also called as omega-6. They're present in safflower, sunflower, cottonseed, soya bean, corn, sesame oil. Then linolenic acid is also called omega-3, present in mustard, canola, soya bean, rice bran oil. These fatty acids have two or more double bond. In case of MUFA, they have one double bond and in case of PUFA they have 2 or more double bonds. Cholesterol is found in different concentrations in all animal tissues and blood. It is synthesized by the liver, independent of dietary intake. Whatever diet you take, still cholesterol is synthesized by liver. Liver produces cholesterol. Liver synthesizes about 2 grams cholesterol daily, irrespective of what you are eating. The normal blood level of cholesterol is 100 ml of blood. Cholesterol do not provide energy, but it has several important functions in the body. So if you can just see, when there is no cholesterol deposit in the arteries, the blood flows smoothly, and slowly and gradually the plaque starts forming, cholesterol starts depositing, and the blockages happen. What are the functions of fats? Fat is a source of energy. It is necessary for absorption of fat-soluble vitamins such as vitamin A, E, D, K. It helps as an insulator and it protects. Then there are some other functions of fats. Let's discuss. First is it's a source of energy. Fats are considered as the concentrated source of energy. 1 gram of fat provides 9 kilocalories. Fats are readily available when the body needs energy in the absence of carbohydrates. Body has an unlimited ability to store excess energy as fat in adipocytes. It is a preferred source of energy for the heart, liver and muscles. When supply of glucose is limited, only glycerol can be used for glucogenesis. Fat is very necessary for the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins such as vitamin A, D, E and K. You cannot get these vitamins absorbed in the body till we have fat in our body. Fat basically insulates the body and helps to maintain body temperature. It protects bones and vital organs from trauma, but too much fat eliminates the protective benefit and also affects functioning of the organ. Fat slows down the rate of digestion. A fatty meal stays for a longer period in the stomach and prevents the feel of hunger. This is called as satiety value of fats. You might have experienced by after having anything heavy, for example, a bowl full of curd which has got lots of fat, you don't feel like eating anything after that for some time. You feel sleepy. Why? Because the fat takes time in the stomach to be digested. So I'll just suggest, in case of having a bowl full of curd, have buttermilk instead, because when you make buttermilk, the fat is removed and that is very, very healthy for your stomach. Fat also adds flavor to many foods. For example, non-fat or skim milk does not taste like whole milk. Then fats spare proteins from being oxidized for energy. Omega-3 fatty acids reduce LDL cholesterol, which may thus reduce the risk of coronary heart disease. Then maternal intake of omega-3 fatty acids is beneficial for the growth of the fetus. Omega-3 fatty acids can reduce joint tenderness and also impart anti-inflammatory benefits, especially in rheumatic arthritis. They help to reduce blood pressure and blood triglycerides. Thus, regular intake of omega-3 lowers both primary and secondary heart attack risk. Then omega-6 fatty acids are required for normal growth. There are some functions of cholesterol. Cholesterol is a structural part of the cell membrane. It is a precursor of vitamin D. 2 biological precursors of vitamin D are ergosterol and 7-dehydrocholesterol, which are present in the skin. Under the influence of UV rays, each undergoes a chemical change forming vitamin D3, that is also called calciferol, and vitamin D2, which is called ergocalciferol. Cholesterol is also a precursor of bile acids. Bile acids are important for the digestion and absorption of fats in the body. Bile acids mainly emulsifies fat. Then they are also important for the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins. It is a precursor for sex hormones such as estrogen and testosterone also. Deficiency of fat is rare as our diet contains sufficient amount of fat. If our diet lacks in fat, it can cause deficiency of essential fatty acids. You can develop deficiency of vitamin A, D, E and K if you don't get enough fat in your diet. because your body can only absorb these nutrients in the presence of fat. In case of excess of fat in the diet, it may cause obesity. Excess fat intake may lead to coronary heart diseases. Then it can even lead to increased cholesterol and different types of cancers. It may also interfere with the absorption of calcium. Then causes ketosis, because unless an adequate carbohydrate is present in the diet, it will cause ketosis. Fats and oils used at the table or used for cooking are called visible fats. For example, vegetable oils, ghee, salad dressing, mayonnaise, butter, cream, etc. And fats which are present naturally as an ingredient of various foods are called invisible fats. For example, flesh foods, meat, fish, poultry, eggs, milk and milk products, peanuts, nuts or oilseeds, some spices, etc. Cereals, pulses, fruits and vegetables are poor source of fat. However, since cereals and pulses are consumed in large quantities, they contribute to the invisible fat in the diet. A lipid is defined as a fat-like molecule that does not have the ability to dissolve in water. This inability to dissolve in water adds an element of difficulty to fat digestion. Because fat does not like water, it tends to clump together and form large droplets as it moves through your digestive system. By the time fat reaches your small intestine, it is not being digested at all. So dietary fat in the small intestine looks like a very large glob of fat. So these fat globules or globes, they remain until bile that is produced in the liver and stored in the gallbladder mixes with the large fat droplets. Bile contains bile salts which acts as an emulsifier of lipids. Now what is emulsifying or emulsification? It means to break large fat droplets into smaller droplets. The bile salts break up and they coat the fat to form much finer droplets. These finer droplets have more surface area and this aids digestion because the fat digesting enzyme pancreatic lipase can only act on the surface of the fat droplet. So pancreatic lipase now can work on these fats and they get broken into smaller droplets. Now these enzymes of the smaller intestine are responsible for almost all the fat digestion. When pancreatic lipase acts on lipids, it breaks it down, which results in free fatty acids and monoglycerides, the two digestive products of lipids. These products are much easier for the small intestine to handle and they have very little trouble being absorbed out of digestive tract. Absorption takes place through the mucosal lining of the small intestine. So it is the small intestine has got mucosa, there is a lining where the absorption takes place, and when these products pass through the mucosa, they enter the epithelial cells. वहाँ पर epithelial cells हैं, उसमें enter करते हैं. Once inside the cells, the free fatty acids and monoglycerides enter endoplasmic reticulum. So now there is one endoplasmic reticulum where they enter, which is a system inside the cell whose function includes synthesis and transport of lipid. So endoplasmic reticulum is responsible for synthesis and transport of lipids. Here what happens, the digestive products are resynthesized into triglycerides. So these triglycerides are the major form of fat stored by the body. So an important fact to point out is that fats are reassembled in the epithelial cells of a small intestine. This makes fat absorption different from absorption of proteins and carbohydrates. With protein and carbohydrate absorption, we see that the basic unit, which are amino acids and monosaccharides, are able to pass through the intestinal epithelial cells without being altered. But here they get altered.